Marathon is a genuinely special game, being punished for Bungie's sins. It's not being judged as a game, but as a Bungie product. And the weight of a decade of broken trust, compounded by a brutally crowded launch window, may be enough to doom a game that actually deserves better. But here's what most people are fundamentally getting wrong. Marathon isn't the game they think it is. Later, I'm going to argue that most players are misreading its genre identity entirely. Marathon is a good game that is worth your money, but may not be worth your time. It plays great, it looks amazing, it challenges you with systems that remix familiar mechanics seen in other games like Escape from Tarkov and Apex Legends. But because I know what developer Bungie is going for, I know it's not the game for me, at least right now. I know that sounds wishy-washy, but hear me out. You can't actually review a live service game out of context. You wouldn't say Destiny, Apex Legends, or World of Warcraft are exactly the same games they are now as they were at launch. Live service games evolve or devolve over time. We need to know where Bungie has been to see if Marathon is worth sticking with. But first, if you want more reviews like this, videos that go deeper than just shooting good, story bad, hit like and subscribe. We do this differently at Cutscene Collective. Let's get into it. Marathon is an extraction first-person shooter based on Bungie's legacy IP, released originally in 1994. The latest iteration is a PvPvE game that pits solos or teams of trios against each other, inserting them into a dangerous world, scrounging for what they can, and extracting. Engaging with enemy AI or other players is optional, but more often than not, out of your hands. Like most games in the genre, this creates a tense and exhilarating environment that is ripe for emergent gameplay to exist. Player-created moments that can be planned for, but are ultimately unscripted. As a content creator and video game reviewer, Marathon's launch is fascinating. The game launched in March 2026 following a 6-month delay from its original release date because, well, it just wasn't good enough. The game was quickly looped into the Concordian timeline, an internet meme which was coined after Concord, a hero shooter that failed miserably, and followed by the recent High Guard, a hero shooter that also failed miserably. But it's no wonder that during its delay, Marathon had the foresight to quickly abandon heroes in their shooter and rebrand them as shells or runners. As of writing this review, there are over 20,000 Steam reviews, with most sitting at very positive, and the game seems to be finding its groove with an average of a 50k daily player base. A healthy number for any game and any other developer, but it may not be enough for what Sony was expecting for its hotly acquired Bungie studio. Marathon is also experiencing a weird, fragmented review cycle, where Bungie was requesting content creators like me to hold off reviews for about 3 weeks so we could experience an in-game map, Cryo Archive, which released on March 20th. But a few days before Cryo Archive's launch, they went and published an accolades video, which was sending mixed signals and came across like an attempt to control the narrative. To be honest, I can't blame them. Bungie's gotta make this work somehow. Papa Sony wants that ROI on that $3.6 billion they spent. Although looking back, it really seems Marathon never had a chance. The latest Destiny mid-season major update, Shadow and Order, was scheduled to release around the same time as Marathon. Whether by design or happy accident, its delay meant that Destiny players who were starved for content had one fewer reason to stay and one more reason to pick up something new. Bungie even had their best Destiny content creators champion their new game, and it has worked to a varying degree. Their most dedicated creators and streamers who were so dependent on content had to pivot to producing Marathon content. Again, this potentially raised the probability that Destiny fans would purchase the game, because these are the very channels and personalities they were subscribed to and now had Marathon content shoved down their throats.
Why?
But Destiny players weren't just gonna switch over. Sure, there is that some Bungie DNA, but the reality is the Destiny community felt betrayed by their developer. They got abandoned for the latest shiny new thing. Besides, there are just too many reasons not to play Marathon, and it's not like players are starved for options. Arc Raiders diehards weren't switching over from third person to first person just to learn new systems. They already had a great extraction shooter. Space Marine 2 just launched a new update that introduced a whole new class, the Tech Marine. The Division 2 had a massive update with a visual enhancement, realism mode, and an anniversary event. Indie darling Slay the Spire 2 launched in early access on the same day as Marathon, absolutely eclipsing its active and all-time player count, which has been a hot topic amongst fans and haters. Most recently, one of 2026's most anticipated games, Crimson Desert, has launched, stealing some thunder from Marathon's Cryo Archive endgame launch. Ghost of Yote launches Legends multiplayer mode, the surprise hit fans loved from the first game, and it is currently my game of choice as I'm leveling up for the soon-to-be released Raid. With PlayStation's Saros and Wolverine prepping for their marketing cycle in Q2 and 3, unfortunately this was the only viable window for Marathon to launch. But even if all that isn't a factor, the one obstacle to Marathon's success might actually be Bungie itself. More specifically, their approach to live service. As a longtime Destiny fan, I've noticed a similar strategy to Marathon's launch. Announce the game, pepper with a bunch of studio scandals, then delay. Then spend way too much on marketing, building hype with Vidocs, trailers, cinematic, music videos, and apparently prank videos. Finally, launch. Don't over-deliver. Have an awful player onboarding experience, keep story and world building to the bare minimum, roll out content over time to pad out engagement, make it seem like the game has more to offer when it in fact is underbaked, launch an ARG puzzle, limit access to the best content by instilling entry requirements like gear score, group-only restrictions, minimum level requirements for faction and seasonal rank levels, create FOMO by implementing a seasonal model that resets, boost engagement by only allowing access to in-game content on the weekends, so only rewarding the sweatiest, most diehard, no-lifers to experience the best the game has to offer, while most that have paid for the game will probably never actually experience it. If it's not clear, shipping a minimum viable product with a promise for more is not sustainable. Fans know that Destiny 1 followed a similar trajectory and rollout at launch. Release underbaked, provide no proper player onboarding, ask that the community use this time to level up for a multiplayer-only in-game content, and release raid content which the majority of players were not ready to complete. Bungie's philosophy of aspirational, time-limited content has engendered anxiety, elitism, and toxicity to Destiny, and unfortunately, it has carried over into their approach to Marathon. I had the opportunity to review Marathon both on PC and PS5. In general, the game runs great on both the base PS5 and PC, and it did look slightly better on my PC on an OLED screen, but your results may vary. Gameplay-wise, it's a game just better suited for PC, specifically mouse and keyboard. On console, navigating your inventory and its convoluted menus and wheels, which you will do a lot of, is sluggish and you will pay the price for it, often. On PS5, I once got stuck in a black screen while loading into a run. I killed the game, relaunched, and saw that I had lost my entire loadout, which wasn't fun. I've had a couple of extractions, died to many things, toxic plants, enemy AI, and mostly other players playing an invis assassin shell. Look man, are the shells balanced? Hell no. And each shell will be buffed or nerfed over time, so just pick whichever. This is how Bungie keeps you coming back. Not unlike their other games, Marathon draws you in with its distinct mood and style. A mishmash of over-the-top 90s neon aesthetic and Y2K neo-futurism. A much brighter palette than their previous games, albeit with a far more foreboding tone. Marathon just intrigues. However, their visual style is a double-edged sword. Your survival in-game is directly linked to your situational awareness, and with so many neon colors fighting for your attention on screen, visual clutter almost always gets in the way of seeing a ping. And for a game that puts a premium on loot and inventory management, iconography is unidentifiable and not quickly readable. Bungie brings their weapon feel expertise once again, and this time manipulating the feel of each weapon in more detail. Mods can vastly change your experience with any weapon, from how quickly you ADS and your scopes, all the way to additional perks that up your damage output. By default, you're not powerful. You can't sprint for long before overheating, you can't use powerful skills without long cooldowns, you can't take a lot of damage without better shields, and your guns are mad sluggish without the proper mods. So you loot. And with each successful extraction, you get more powerful. With each death, you gain more knowledge. And you're gonna die. A lot. Whether you die from enemy AI or other players, you lose everything on your person. The beauty about Marathon is that you could squad up in trios and play it like you would play a battle royale, hunting every enemy squad you see. Or you could play it like a solo stealth game, avoiding everything and anything. Each playstyle will provide a different experience, as well as reward you very differently. You see, I think I figured Marathon out. More specifically, why do people just not get it? If Destiny is a looter shooter, Marathon is the anti-looter shooter. In Destiny, you hoard loot. In Marathon, you're just borrowing it. Think of Souls-likes. They are brutal, tough, mostly PvE with enemy invasions, and with each death, you lose everything. Now think of roguelikes. The more you progress into a run, the more different perks are presented to you, allowing you to go deeper or die prematurely. In Marathon, when you're loading up for a run, your choice of weapons and mods is much like the perks in a roguelite. Throughout your run, you don't know if you're going to get more powerful or less powerful the more you play. You could extract with everything or lose it all, and you must get comfortable with losing everything. In Souls and roguelikes, it's not an issue when you die and lose your stuff, because you understand that impermanence is part of the game. It's more about the journey and not the destination. So why is Marathon any different? There's no doubt that Bungie took what it learned from Destiny, balancing server loads, manipulating spawn points, enemy density, and how to subtly nudge players toward encounters. For better or worse, Marathon actually solves the number one problem Destiny and most live service shooters face: power creep. To keep things fresh and engaging, developers over time introduce new classes, items, and weapons that are more powerful than old ones, resulting in the game either feeling imbalanced or boring. Marathon takes the seasonal model to the extreme and runs with it. About every 3 months, the game resets every player's gear and faction progress, with only cosmetics carrying over. Bungie experimented with sunsetting old weapons in Destiny, which didn't go down well with players, but I feel what they are doing with seasons in Marathon might be somewhat of a middle ground. I reviewed Destiny 1 when it came out, and I absolutely hated it. I just didn't get it. You can watch me revisit that review here. I went from loving the teasers to actually playing the game at launch and hating it. But then something weird happened, and it just clicked, and I never stopped playing. The parallels are hard to ignore. Undercooked at launch, a community divided, a player base that couldn't agree on whether to love it or leave it, and then slowly it became one of the most beloved shooters of its generation. Marathon is right there, standing at the beginning of that same journey. The same playbook. Despite the negativity surrounding Marathon, this is why I'm on the fence about it, and why I wouldn't count Bungie out. I mean, who does sci-fi FPS better than Bungie? Halo, Destiny, now Marathon. Marathon is a special game. It's just unfortunate that Bungie has lost all its good faith through questionable decisions in the past. I firmly believe that if Marathon were made by another studio, it would be looked at with less skepticism. But that's why context in a live service is important. At this point, Marathon is worth less than the sum of its parts. That's because if you just like one part of the game, you could easily find other games that do it better. If you're looking to just fight enemy AI, play Destiny 2 or Witchfire, an extraction shooter for the solo player. Check out our review right here. If you wanted PvP only, you could hop into Destiny 2, or play Apex Legends, or Hunt Showdown. Marathon has these elements, but its approach to live service undermines all of them, favoring a retention strategy over fun. Gone is the gameplay philosophy of 30 seconds of fun pioneered in Halo. That's a different Bungie, and Marathon is a different game. Bungie is about aspirational goals that engender FOMO and create a divide in the player base, favoring the few most dedicated and skilled. It was baked into Destiny and is now hardwired into Marathon. At the very least, Marathon can be engaging enough for the casual and solo player to dabble in the world, but never have the full experience. I see Marathon going one of two ways: soften up with a PvE only mode and broaden its reach, or double down and push the hardcore extraction genre to places nobody else has gone. Honestly, I hope it does the latter. But if it does, it's not gonna pull in the numbers it needs for Bungie to survive. In closing, I want to say that this is a special game carrying a decade of baggage that isn't its fault. And that, more than anything else, is the most Bungie thing about it. As a Destiny player, I hate that Marathon took resources away from that game. But looking at what Marathon brought to the table in terms of visuals, audio, and performance, it makes me excited for what a Destiny 3 could look like, if we ever get one. If you've enjoyed the video, it truly helps if you like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to support us here at Cutscene Collective, where we explore the stories behind your favorite games. Let us know your thoughts below, and till the next one, be good to each other.